Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating strategy for how you can turn exile into an empire. And we're going to do it by looking at this surprising connection between a 10th century Korean warlord and a very famous biblical hero.
You know, it's a question that pops up all through history. The path from being an outlaw to becoming a ruler is, well, incredibly dangerous. But sometimes the key to the kingdom isn't a weapon at all. It's a wedding.
So let's start with this guy, Hwang Gyeon. He's the man who united the entire Korean peninsula and founded the Goryeo dynasty. And believe it or not, his most powerful weapon wasn't something he won on the battlefield. It was something forged at the altar.
Yeah, Wang Gen was an absolute master strategist. He totally understood that to build a kingdom that would actually last, he needed to build powerful alliances. And his number one tool for doing that? Marriage. There's actually a Korean term for this, 청략 결혼, which means a strategic marriage. This idea was the absolute cornerstone of his entire strategy. He used these unions to absorb powerful local families into his team, basically turning his rivals into relatives and their armies into his own. And his strategy was incredibly precise. For example, by marrying the daughter of the Jeongju clan, he got control over a critical naval port, which secured an invasion route for him. Then he marries into the Naju clan, and bam, he establishes a foothold deep in enemy territory. Each marriage wasn't just a political handshake. It was a strategic move that got him land, resources, and loyalty, and it paved his way to the throne.
Okay, so this strategy of using marriage to secure power isn't just a 10th century Korean thing. Nope. Thousands of years earlier and thousands of miles away, another warlord on the run would use the exact same playbook in a moment of crisis. And the connection is just striking.
So we find David, and he is not in a palace. He's a fugitive, a warlord on the run, hiding out in the wilderness of Paran. He's leading this band of about 600 very loyal but also very hungry men. And he's basically operating like a private military contractor for the region. And this is where his story crashes right into two people who could not be more different. First, you have this rich, arrogant landowner named Nabal, and get this, his name literally means fool. And then you have his wife, Abigail, who is described as being incredibly wise and intelligent. So here's the situation. David's men have been acting like a shield, protecting Nabal's flocks from raiders. So during the sheep shearing festival, which was a time of huge celebration and generosity, David sends a messenger to ask for some supplies. Now, this wasn't David asking for a handout. It was basically him sending an invoice for security services. But Nabal doesn't just say no, oh no. He fires back with this absolutely devastating public insult. He dismisses David, the guy who famously took down Goliath, as nothing more than a runaway slave. In that culture, that was a direct attack on his honor, his family, his very identity. And David, he just explodes. He sees this as the ultimate betrayal. He is so consumed by rage that he grabs 400 of his men and swears he's going to wipe out Nabal and every single male in his household by morning. I mean, he is on a path to total self-destruction. But as David and his soldiers are marching toward what would have been an absolute political and moral disaster, one person steps in to change the course of history. That person is Abigail, acting super fast without even telling her husband. She intercepts David. And yeah, she brings the supplies he asked for, but more importantly, she delivers this brilliant diplomatic appeal. She takes all the blame, she validates his anger, but then she wisely reminds him of his higher calling to be king, warning him not to have needless bloodshed on his conscience. And this is the crucial point. She saves David not just from Nabal, but from himself. Think about it. If he had slaughtered a prominent clan leader just because of a personal insult, nobody in the entire region of Judah would have ever trusted him to be their king. His reputation would have been toast. And what happens next is what turns this whole near disaster into a massive political win for David. And it mirrors the exact same strategy that we saw with Wang Gyeon. So, when Nabal finds out how close his entire household came to being annihilated, he has a stroke. About 10 days later, he dies. And as soon as David hears the news, he immediately recognizes the massive opportunity that just fell into his lap. And this is where the parallel just clicks into place. David immediately proposes to Abigail. By marrying her, he doesn't just get a wise partner, He absorbs the incredible wealth and influence of Nabal's powerful clan in Carmel. He secures a critical power base in southern Judah. It is a perfect textbook example of Jongrok Yalhan. And he doesn't even stop there. He also marries another woman, Ahinoam, from the nearby town of Jezreel. So through these two strategic marriages, David literally transforms himself from a wandering mercenary chief into a legitimate regional leader with deep roots and powerful allies in his home tribe of Judah.
But here's where the story takes a much deeper turn. The argument is that there was something way more profound going on here than just clever politics. It was really a lesson in what you have to lose before you can gain a kingdom.
And this story has one final twist, because at the exact same time that David is building these new alliances in the south, his biggest rival is making a move to cut him off completely.
Yeah, his estranged father-in-law, King Saul, makes this really calculated political strike. He forcibly annuls David's marriage to his daughter Michal, severing David's very last official tie to the royal family. And this slide right here, this captures the whole argument. Saul thinks he's destroying David by taking away his title of king's son-in-law. But what's really happening is this incredible exchange. David loses a hollow title, but what he gains is real character. The patience he learned by not taking revenge on Nabal. He loses a connection to a corrupt royal court, but he gains true wisdom in his new wife, Abigail. He's cut off from Saul's power, sure, but he's freed to build the foundation of his own true kingdom. So the final point is this. That whole harsh, wandering period in the wilderness, it wasn't a detour or a failure. It was essential training. You could say the wilderness was the perfect school that forged him into a king, teaching him lessons about patience and wisdom that he never, ever could have learned in the comfort of a palace.
In the end, for both the warlord in ancient Korea and the fugitive in the Judean hills, the path to the throne wasn't about holding on. It was about what they gained after letting go. And that leaves us with a pretty provocative question, right? What if the very thing you've lost is exactly what's needed to clear the path for what you're truly destined to gain?